Welcome to SI Now. I'm Robin Lundberg here with Amy Campbell. And Amy, the longest running story in the NFL took another turn yesterday.
Yeah, Colin Kaepernick was scheduled to work out with the Seattle Seahawks this week, but the team postponed the workout when the QB refused to say he would stop kneeling for the national anthem. And then they went ahead and signed former Redskins backup Stephen Morris. I'm not at all surprised that another team isn't going to sign Cap, but is it surprising, Robin, that it's the Seahawks we're talking about?
No, I don't think it's surprising. I think on the surface you could make that case because they've been socially and politically active as a team. Pete Carroll has said he thinks that Kaepernick is a starting level quarterback in the NFL. Seattle, one of the most liberal places in the country. But the Seahawks were the first team I've heard in a long time that were willing to bring him in. The NFL, this is about the NFL, and the line in the sand appears to be the protest. I wish they were transparent about it. I still think it would be disgraceful, but that is clearly the case. This is just another piece of evidence that it has nothing to do with football and that the protests are what are causing Colin Kaepernick, who is the face of them, to remain without a job. It
is maddening. It must be maddening for Kaepernick, too, to continue to hear things like, I'm sure he'll be a great backup or possibly a starter somewhere, but not right here because we don't need him for this or that reason. Like you mentioned, Pete Carroll saying he was a starter, and he also said, I can't imagine somebody won't give him the chance. Kind of ironic that now he's the one not giving him the chance. And I think it is kind of strange that this is Seattle because you mentioned they have been so supportive of their players standing up for what they believe in, being outspoken about it. Michael Bennett was one of the biggest, most outspoken guys about this cause when he was with Seattle, and Pete Carroll put his arms around him. So it does surprise me that it is this team doing that.
But it is Kaepernick's case that the league itself is keeping him out, and that, I think, is the problem. I think whether it's spoken or unspoken, that agreement
I think it helps his case, actually, in that way.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
To Colin Kaepernick's former team, 49ers linebacker Reuben Foster has been charged with 3 felonies, including domestic violence, in connection to an arrest in February. Foster is accused of physically attacking his girlfriend, with the Santa Clara District Attorney's Office claiming he dragged her by the hair and struck her in the head 8 to 10 times. The NFL had this to say about the felony charges. We continue to monitor all developments in this matter, which is under review of the personal conduct policy, while the 49ers put out a statement of their own. We will continue to follow this serious matter. Reuben is aware that his place in our organization is under great scrutiny and will depend on what is learned through the legal process. Obviously, his situation is tenuous, but what do you make of Foster still being on the Niners roster?
Yeah, I think tenuous is a good word, but this really frustrates me. And I think part of the questions I'm asking is because Foster is a really good player, is that why they're being so hesitant? Because this continues to happen with him. He's had 2 arrests in a month. That one was the second. He was arrested in Tuscaloosa for a marijuana charge, which in an isolated incident, whatever, but in context with this and the report that came out about this, bruised with a ruptured eardrum is what they're accusing him of. Also a misdemeanor possession of a large capacity weapon magazine, aka an assault rifle. Put that in context with the fact that he was sent home at the combine for failing a drug test, for arguing with a medical worker. He was in trouble in college. Put that in context with all of this. I don't see why the team has to look any further.
Yeah, I understand the argument of wait for due process, but in this case, the evidence seems to be overwhelming, and the NFL has had a problem, of course, with domestic violence in the past. Plus, when we're just talking about Kaepernick, it's another example of this guy isn't off a team, and Colin Kaepernick remains off a team.
And there needs to be a hard line about domestic violence. I mean, we say this all the time. It should be obvious, but it doesn't seem to be because when a player's really good, somehow we want to wait for due process.
Transitioning to something a little bit more fun, the NBA
yes.
playoffs set to begin Saturday. And here to help us to go through the biggest stories is our showrunner, Ben Teitelbaum, for a little hot take, smart take.
All right, you guys know how this game works. I'm going to give you something a little spicy, a hot take on the NBA playoffs, and you let me know if it's just that, hot air, or if there's some truth beneath the surface. And let's start in the West with the league's best team. Hot take, Robin. The Houston Rockets will not make the conference finals.
I don't think that's such a hot take. I would go on the side of smart here because I'm not saying they won't, but it wouldn't shock me. I mean, the Rockets have a lot of question marks with their main cogs. James Harden, when they're not giving him the fouls, does he not come up in the playoffs? Chris Paul hasn't made it to the conference finals. Mike D'Antoni has questions. Plus, they'd be seeing the Thunder or the Jazz in the next round. So I think it's totally feasible that Houston gets bounced early, and we're having conversations about those guys' playoff failures.
It's not fair to predict the future based on what we've seen from these guys in the playoffs in the past. You can't say that they're not going to perform.
What does sports talk about?
You never know what's going to happen. Every year is different. That's why they play the game, right? The famous quote. I think it's a hot take. The Rockets have the best record in the NBA. They have this year's MVP, whether we want to argue if he's the best player in the league. James Harden is this year's MVP. And did you know?
Not yet. He will be, but not yet.
He will be. We all know he will be. Did you know from yesterday, Rockets are 42-3 with Harden, Paul, and Capella in the lineup?
Well, it wasn't that the Rockets aren't good. That would be a smart take as well, that they're good.
Okay, let's move over to the East. Hot take, Amy. The 76ers will come out of the East and make the NBA Finals.
Absolutely not. As much as I love the process, and this would be a really fun story, it's LeBron all the way. Do you remember the last time he wasn't in the conference finals? You have to go back 8 years before he was in the finals. 8 years back. I could continue to throw stats at you, but the best player of all time always finds a way to get it done.
Look, again, a hot take to me is something that I go, get that out of here. This is not that case here either. I say this is a smart take because I believe the Cavs are going to win the East as well, but if I'm picking a second team, it's Philadelphia. They've been great since the All-Star break. They could be getting Embiid back. Simmons is a monster. They've got guys on the wing who can shoot it. Redick, Bellinelli. Covington is a 3-and-D player. This is a team that can D up, they can play, and maybe they get there a little bit earlier than we thought.
You guys want to talk LeBron? Let's talk LeBron. Hot take, Robin. The Cavs will lose in the first round.
Of course, this is a hot take. LeBron hasn't lost in the first round a game since 2012. You're going to tell me the Indiana Pacers? I know he struggled with them in the past on Miami, but they still won. This is a whole new Pacers team. You're telling me Victor Oladipo and company are ending the 7 consecutive finals streak? No way. I mean, we've seen a very small sample of the Cavs at full strength with Kevin Love, with the new players. That sample has been great. Don't judge them on their struggles in January.
Yeah, those losses were before the trade deadline. It's a completely different team, and Robin and I will always agree, LeBron all day, every day.
All right, let's make this last one a little bit quick. A 7 or 8 seed will win a playoff series, Robin. That means the Bucks, Spurs, Wizards, or T-Wolves will knock off one of the best seeds.
This is close, but I lean hot here because I don't think any of those is going to happen. Maybe the Wizards have the best case, but can I really have confidence in the Wizards, even if the Raptors have struggled in game ones in series? The Bucks can't score enough to beat the banged-up Celtics. The Spurs, I think the same thing with the Golden State Warriors, and I believe the Rockets are going to sweep the T-Wolves.
Just to play devil's advocate, I do think it's a smart take, and I think it's the Spurs that I'm looking at here just because it is the Spurs, and they always exceed our expectations. That's that matchup you have circled every year that you never really want them to be your matchup in the finals.
Ben, appreciate the time. You can catch out Ben on the line on SITV for the bets that you should actually be making, not just the hot takes.
That's
Not
right.
hot takes.
If you're betting on sports, watching the line is always a smart take.
We still have a couple months before the NBA hands out its regular season awards, which is kind of nuts. So I'm joined by the crossovers, Rohan Nadkarni, to give them out when people are still talking about them. Now we get to Defensive Player of the Year. Who's your pick there?
This is another just very tough field. I'm going with Rudy Gobert here, and I think immediately people will say, hey, Gobert, he missed so many games this season. Here's the reason why. The Jazz were, 9, 10 games under 500. They looked like they were headed to the bottom of the lottery. They vaulted back up into the top half of the West. And as great as Donovan Mitchell has been, Gobert has been their best player. His impact when he's on the court is incredible. The Jazz have a great record when he's actually playing. And if you just watch a Utah Jazz game, there are stretches 5-6 minutes for a quarter where Gobert just takes over defensively in a way that I'm not sure any other player in the league besides maybe Draymond Green or Kawhi Leonard is capable of. You're not seeing that a lot from the center position anymore. He can just dominate a game defensively, single-handedly deterring teams from even thinking about coming into the paint. I think he is not the obvious pick, but a good choice.
I see you channeling your Gobert because you're playing defense on me before I could even make the point, talking about him missing all the games. My instinct said Rudy Gobert as well. I want to reward the Jazz for their team record, and he's been the biggest reason for that. But I'm a hypocrite if I do, because he's missed so much of the season. He's basically played a lockout season. How can someone be, in an MVP conversation most valuable when they miss over a quarter of the season? I think the same thing would go for defensive player. Even if there's an inferior defensive player, their value has to be greater on that side of the ball if they're playing almost every game rather than missing that much time.
I would generally agree with that. I just think this season Gobert has been that impactful. The gap between him and the next guy, whether it's Al Horford, whoever you want to say, has been that large. Rudy Gobert, when the Jazz didn't have him, looked like one of the worst teams in the league. With him back, they've outpaced teams like the Thunder, the T-Wolves, all these teams who have all these great players who loaded up in the offseason. And I think Gobert deserves the award for
What's the award for Al Horford? We need to give him one. Like, it needs to be named after him, the nondescript good player of the year,
like
right?
The very good Eastern Conference player of the year, something like that, yeah.
That's Rohan Nadkarni. You can catch more of him on the Crossover TV on SITV.
Everyone loves a good bad boy. Deion Sanders, T.O., A-Rod, Richard Sherman, and Kevin Durant? Well, KD may have started as America's sweetheart, but boy, have things changed. So the question is, what happened? Remember this?
You the real MVP.
KD, we were in love with you. You were the best thing to happen to the Thunder. You brought the team to its first finals. And who could forget those hilarious commercials? But those days appear to be long gone. This season, Durant's been ejected 5 times. To add some context, the only guy with more ejections in the last 25 years is Rasheed Wallace. Now, would you think of KD in the same conversation as Sheed? I mean, shouldn't Durant be happy? He's on top. He's the reigning Finals MVP, and he's in great position of winning another championship. One quote that's quite telling. KD himself said, "After winning that championship last season, I learned that much hadn't changed. I thought it would fill a certain void. It didn't." Whatever that void is, from what he's shown us this season, he's angry, and his fuse is shorter than ever. And the playoffs are coming, and without Steph Curry, there is more pressure than ever on Durant heading into this postseason. Fact is, there's no excuse for not winning it all, and it could be a complete legacy killer if he doesn't get it done.
The semifinals draw for the Champions League has happened. Luis Miguel Echegaray from Planet Football is here with me to discuss. And I think when people saw the draw, they go, ooh, okay, we got Bayern Munich against Real Madrid. What are your thoughts on the rematch from a year ago?
Yeah, I mean, this is, a fixture where both teams know each other really well, dating back all the way from 1975. They faced each other like 24, 25 times, I believe. So, this is a history when it comes to the Champions League and Bayern Munich and Real Madrid. To me, there's 2 storylines here. One of them is obviously Cristiano Ronaldo, clearly the leader when it comes to the Champions League this season in goals, how he is going to fare once again in Bayern Munich, especially when the Real Madrid are away from home. But the other one is James Rodriguez, somebody that's on loan for 2 years from Bayern Munich. I do this because James Rodriguez is a 2-year loan, but really it's going to end up being a full permanent sale, and how he's going to do when he faces his team, that has loaned him out, Real Madrid. So to me, those are the 2 most interesting stories to watch out for.
Meanwhile, some people are thinking there's a winner here, and it's Liverpool, who avoid both Bayern and of course, Real Madrid. But Roma just knocked off Barcelona. Are people getting the cart before the horse by saying Liverpool lucked out here?
Who did Roma just beat? Barcelona, and a clear favorite for this champion. To me, that's just like ridiculous. We can't have that storyline where Liverpool's favorite. Sure, on paper and the way they have, basically performed, especially the way that they beat Manchester City, you're thinking, yeah, this is a favorite. But really, when it comes to matches like this, especially in 2-legged situations, there is no favorite. I mean, sure, we're talking about Mohamed Salah, who, is clearly on an amazing run. He began his renaissance in Roma when he played for them, and clearly you think about people like that, and Mane and Firmino. You think, well, obviously, Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool are going to do something over Roma. But Roma also has a ridiculously smart midfield, with De Rossi and a talented core of defenders that I think that can give Liverpool a lot of problems.
You just mentioned two specific players, one James Rodriguez, the other Mohamed Salah, both going against their former clubs in Real and Roma. Who do you expect to perform better?
It's going to be tough because of, the influence and how they deliver for their respective teams. James Rodriguez has become the assist king for Bayern Munich. Somebody that really is the one that creates a lot of mayhem outside of the box and delivering eventually to players like Robben or Lewandowski, the ultimate finisher. Mohamed Salah, is just a machine when it comes to scoring and penetrating and causing mayhem. To me, I see Mohamed Salah doing a little bit more damage just because he is so good at not just scoring or creating goals, but causing so much attention. And then when you do that, you're giving so much more opportunity to players like, Firmino and Sadio Mane. Not to say that James Rodriguez won't cause an impact against Real Madrid. I think he'll be extra motivated. But I see Mohamed Salah, really trying to live up to the standards of what he's been doing all season.
Now, we're talking about some teams having successes, but there's one that hasn't, and that's Man City. Some really rough losses, both in Champions League and EPL. How does that affect them for this and going forward legacy-wise?
Yeah, when it comes to legacy, I think it does affect them because ultimately Manchester City, they've won the Premier League before, in that Sergio Aguero late goal, historical season, and they look good for this one. They're going to break many records. They're going to break, looking good to breaking how many goals they have scored, how many wins, away wins. This is a team that is worthy of recognition, and they're definitely a force to be reckoned with. But ultimately, the Champions League is the trophy that Pep Guardiola and Manchester City wanted, and it didn't go their way. So when we think about them for this season, we're going to say this is a great team that has caused a lot of problems, that is worthy of Premier League recognition, but still the ultimate target, the ultimate, chest of treasure, so to speak, is the Champions League, and Pep Guardiola still needs to do that.
That's Luis Miguel Echegaray on the Champions League. You're a champion in my book.
See, that's why I love coming here, because thank you so much. You're the only one that says it. My wife forget it. But yeah. you say it at least, Reuben. Thank you.
There you go. You can catch more of him on Planet Football on SITV. I'm joined now by the great Hank Azaria, who plays Jim Brockmire in the aptly titled show, Brockmire. Yeah. This is the second season premiering on IFC April 25th at 10 p.m.
Oh, there he is. What's he doing now? Oh, is that supposed to be me? Oh, I get it. I'm so drunk I can hardly walk. That's just hilarious. You know what, though? You're not quite selling it, though. Can I give you a quick pointer?
Already been renewed for seasons 3 and 4. That rarely happens, right?
Yeah, we haven't even, season 2 hasn't even dropped yet, as the kids like to say. But yeah, they love the show. And I'm a little bit like, guys, are you sure? I mean, it's a big commitment, but they seem sure.
Well, see, he's a baseball announcer, so we're going to play a baseball edition of Hot Take, Smart Take.
Okay.
Derek Jeter, now all of a sudden he's taking all the criticism. He will bring a championship to Miami and the Marlins.
Jeter's done a wonderful job in the offseason. I mean, his policy, his take that he wanted to trade really great players for really bad players, I think is a novel one. And, the Cardinals, he's like, we have a lot of players not quite as good as Marcell Ozuna, so why don't you take our pick here? And Jeter was all over that, and now the Cardinals got themselves a great new left fielder.
Not quite so clutch in his front office management as he was in his playing career?
Not yet. It's kind of shocking, actually, to see Derek Jeter, who you think of as just the purest, the example of what's pure about the sport, sort of becoming an owner in the worst sense of the word. It's so quickly. It's really weird.
That's not the Mets fan in you either. That's just the astute analysis.
No, that's an honest take.
All right, how about this one? Bob Uecker played the best fictional baseball announcer.
As you know, Monty, Vaughn's been working on a couple of new pitches, the Eliminator and the Humiliator, to complement his fastball, the Terminator. I heard that. Dynamite drop in, Monty. That broadcast school has really paid off.
That's a slap in the face to Jim Brockmire. Of course, he did not. I don't think it counts. You can't be Bob Uecker and claim that you're playing a fictional Bob Uecker. It has to be, that's the real him. So, no, asterisk. He doesn't count.
Now, I know Brockmire loves the traditions of baseball. What is it with baseball's unwritten rules and the delicate geniuses that are Major League Baseball players?
The unwritten rules of baseball, the one I really don't like is you can't celebrate a home run with a bat flip. I mean, come on, hasn't the NFL, I mean, they finally let these guys enjoy the touchdown celebrations. Let the kids go. I mean, when I set my personal record of having completed the sex act 3 times in one day, I immediately did a pantsless lap in the lobby of the Best Western that I was staying in. Now, sure, the people of El Paso, Texas did not appreciate that, but I say reward yourself for a job well done, whether, you know, it's flipping a bat in a ball field or flopping your junk around El Paso.
You know what's the craziest part about it is the false equivalency. Where
about my junk in El Paso?
No, I don't want to get into that, or Best Westerns. But when we're talking about the celebration or a bat flip, apparently the appropriate response is to hurl a hard object at someone at 95 miles per hour.
But that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's another unwritten rule in baseball that, yeah, well, you should. You're a jerk if you don't try to kill somebody.
Assault is fine. Yeah. Celebration frowned upon.
Not so much. Yeah.
Unless it's after hours at a 2-star hotel.
Yes.
I hope they're not a sponsor. They could advertise on Brockmeyer, though. I mean,
probably not now.
There's a lot of opportunity, many seasons.
I don't know, maybe floppy or junk at the Best Western. And then their new catchphrase.
Plus a continental breakfast. Brockmeyer premieres Wednesday, April 25th at 10 p.m.
You can stream it live. You can stream season 1 on Hulu as we speak, Reuben Lundberg.
On Hulu, you can stream it right now. You can catch it April 25th on IFC, 10 p.m. The great Hank Azaria. Appreciate your time.
The great Reuben Lundberg.
Minnesota Lynx star Lindsay Whalen will be the next women's basketball coach at the University of Minnesota, but she is not quitting her day job. Whalen will continue to play in the WNBA while coaching her alma mater. Robin, how impressive is this?
Well, it's very impressive. The one problem I have with it is we need to figure out so these WNBA players don't need side jobs all the time. Playing internationally, coaching teams, and the like. It'd be one thing to be a player coach at the same time of your own team, but of course it's impressive to both play and coach, and more power to her to be able to do that. And hopefully, you know, LeBron recently talked about a woman coach in the NBA. Hopefully we can see that sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think it's really impressive that she is taking on this challenge, and I am really excited to follow along. I'm going to be following the Minnesota women's basketball team. And she did retire from international play in February, so just adding one other thing. But I'm very impressed, and I'm really excited to see how she does.
You know, we mentioned LeBron in the NBA. The NBA playoffs start this weekend. A lot of people are going to be watching. Something a lot of people aren't watching, the Marlins.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, did you know that their minor league affiliate, AA affiliate, the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, have outdrawn the Marlins in attendance? Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp is they're a minor league affiliate in Brooklyn called the Biggie Smalls. But, you know, like, can you believe that we knew it was going to be bad, but that the minor league team would be outdrawing the Marlins?
Oh, this is bad. As a lifelong suffering Marlins fan, I'm not surprised. They can't get anyone to go to the games. They're practically giving tickets away. They're giving you a beer and a hot dog with your ticket for, I don't know, about $1. I'm not surprised, and I think that fans should not go to the game so that they have to do something to make it a better product. But go see the Jumbo Shrimp, everybody. That sounds like a fun weekend.
And what did they expect when they launched this plan with the Marlins? I mean, the reputation of Miami sports fans is already that they're like, hey, we're going to be hanging out. We're not going to show up to the game. Now you're going to give us this product where you get rid of all the good players, as you know, has been talked about a ton.
We saw what Hank Azaria just said. Even when the Heat were in the finals, people were showing up after the first quarter.
Yeah.
Miami fans are tough, man.
A little bit late.
Yeah.
That'll do it for us here today. We'll be back Monday, same time, same place. Enjoy the NBA playoffs, everyone.
Yeah.